When there's trouble, you know who to call.
Here's another question that constantly gets brought up. What happened to action cartoons? Not just comedies that incorporate action elements, but straight up Monster of the Week, comic book adaptations, stuff like that. Why does everything on TV seem to be a goofy comedy? Well, according to my industry friends who worked on action shows and my own speculation, there's a few factors that made this happen, but personally, I blame Disney and the internet. How? Huh? What? Well, let's get into it. These are reasons why Disney's caused action cartoons to die. Top 5, I think. I don't know. Tell me, what are some of the biggest live-action movie franchises? Lord of the Rings, Transformers, Marvel, but where were those franchises 20 years ago? Books, comic books, or animated? If you wanted to tell a grand, epic story full of dragons, giant robots, or superhumans, animation had the potential to do so much. No building sets or costumes, no worrying that a creature isn't realistic enough. If it can be drawn, it can be done. Even when these things were done in live action during the 80s, it often looked like this.
This'll send you back to hell, you ugly troll!
With what we can do with CG nowadays, no one's reliant on drawings or body paint to make the Hulk smash. Ironic given CG is a form of animation. Is that ironic? Switching franchises, Transformers had mostly been an action cartoon in this comic book or anime mixed style through many of its incarnations. But after 2007, when the first Michael Bay directed movie rolled out, what happened to the cartoons? We got 2007's Transformers animated, and after that, more stylized cartoonish reboots. Less atomical, more angular.
You promised you wouldn't laugh! Sorry.
This isn't related to the death of action, but more so the style shift. Late 2000s, cartoons didn't try to be realistic anymore now that the movies were doing just that. Also maybe to attract a younger demographic since these PG-13 movies had older audiences locked down. But that's a whole different topic, I just wanted to point that out since that used to bug me. Hey, why was this show called Transformers Animated as opposed to all the Transformers cartoons that weren't animated? You barely had one live action movie at the time, everyone knows it's based on a cartoon. Marvel Comics didn't start publishing Iron Man Illustrated, but let's return to my point. If you're trapped in the 80s and want to enjoy giant robots, there were cartoons, comics, maybe some goofy Japanese movie with a guy in a suit. Now, you got CG giant robots in so many movies, but why stop at watching it in live action when you can play it? Video games got all these animated cutscenes on top of letting you play as these characters. Comics and cartoons no longer had the monopoly on fantasy. What happened to Transformers happened with everything else, especially superheroes. Why use your imagination of what this could look like in real life when CG can do just that? It's weird to think how times have changed. Superheroes, giant robots, or dragons were once seen as childish cartoon crap. But once these things could be brought to life on film with real people, these things started becoming more accepted. Some people just don't want to use their imagination.
It's time for Animaniacs, and we're zany to the max.
To better understand the death of action cartoons is to also understand the death of Saturday mornings. When asked what killed the Kids WB cartoon block, Animaniacs creator Tom Ruegger blamed Pokemon. That doesn't make any sense. Pokemon was a massive phenomenon that benefited Kids WB. Well, answer this. What were some of the biggest action shows for kids? Pokemon, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball Z, Ninja Turtles, Naruto, and Power Rangers if you want to go live action. Most of those listed are Japanese properties brought over to America and or inspired by Japan. This video has been focusing on the fall of Western animation, but over in the Far East, action has always been thriving, which has benefited US television. How so? Well, in the late 90s, when the likes of Pokemon and Dragon Ball overtook TV and toy sales, anime became a hot commodity. And for cheap. Who needs to spend the time and money to create a completely new cartoon from scratch when you can purchase the rights to a foreign one already completed? Just add English voices, cut out some inappropriate things like nudity and rice balls, and you got yourself pre-cooked entertainment. TV channels frantically raced to buy up any anime they could get, hoping one will be the next Pokemon. Saturday morning blocks got lazier in making their own shows and instead ordered pre-made Japanese ones.
The most anime on Saturday outside of Japan. Tsunami, the rising sun. Cartoon, Saturday from 9 to noon. A day which will live in infamy.
The early 2000s started the anime boom. There was so much anime and imitators that wanted to be anime. People today hate Teen Titans Go as a comedy like every other cartoon on TV. Well, in 2003, comic book fans first resented the idea of the Titan comics being adapted into this goofy action cartoon chasing the anime hype train. I was there, it was just weird. Why didn't this resemble any other DC cartoon? Why was the animation also bouncy? We grew to love it, but yeah, action was the it thing to do in the 2000s. You like Looney Tunes? Well, you'll love them as action heroes and lunatics unleashed.
You like anime?
No. Oh, okay. Anime wannabes, all anime, all the time, everywhere. In this era, TV was the only affordable way to watch anime. I mean, you could buy the DVD or VHS tapes for like $30. Would it contain a full season? Maybe like 4 or 5 episodes. Most people waited for it to air on TV. Dragon Ball Z premiered in Japan in 1989. It didn't premiere in America on the Toonami Action Block till 1996. Could you imagine hearing about a cool anime you wanted to see and having to wait 7 years to watch it? And when that anime did make it on TV here, often you're gonna have to deal with censorship and stilted English voices. The system benefited the TV channels.
Now that was a good episode.
Wait, it's over? When's it on again?
Stupid Adult Swim only plays it on Saturdays now.
What? I'm not waiting the whole week to find out whether Inuyasha and Kagome get together.
Pre-made imports repackaged to us. No need to make their own shows when they were already done elsewhere. Networks didn't care it took years to bring over a butchered cut. What could the consumer do? Nothing. TV won. But things started to change as online video hosting sites started popping up. Young, tech-savvy kids were easily finding subtitled episodes of these Japanese animes on YouTube when copyright strikes weren't as prevalent. The internet evolved to now, where you can get much of your favorite anime titles legally subtitled within the hour of their broadcast in Japan.
Well, this is the end, beautiful friends. After more than 11 years, this is Toonami's final broadcast.
For this and several other reasons covered in a video by Sabersparks, Saturday mornings together with action blocks had the rug pulled out from under them. Cartoon Network went from animes all night long and after schools to just being a thing late at night on a Saturday. Without anime, we couldn't hitch our cartoons onto their success. The anime bubble bursted. Now, reread that list of popular action shows. Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Naruto. Had they been made today, they would have been more successful being streamed online. There have been attempts to premiere anime in English and Japanese within 24 hours of each other for both countries, like with Space Dandy, but that's not a practice that gets done enough. Thus, other than a niche Saturday night block, anime is basically dead on TV.
So, until we meet again, stay gold. Bang.
With anime no longer profitable, it was time for America to rise up. We gotta make our own action cartoons like the good days. I consider 2010 the last hurrah of action cartoons. We had so many greats cut short. Generator Rex, Symbionic Titan, Motor City, Green Lantern, Young Justice, The Legend of Korra, Season 1. But the one I want to talk about is Tron Uprising. Here's some history. Uprising was based on the 1982 cult movie Tron. This came out briefly after the very first 2 Star Wars films when everyone wanted to make the next big sci-fi hit. Tron was a financial failure, but 30 years later, through the support of fans, Disney made a sequel, Tron Legacy. The movie opened up December 2010, and Disney was expecting this to be huge. Why would they? Well, the year prior in December 2009 was James Cameron's box office record-breaking Avatar, so expectations for Tron to be a hit were high. Legacy financially did alright, but compared to Avatar, it was a disappointment in Disney's eyes. Still, a third movie was set to be planned, and the TV series Tron Uprising was released 2012, paired up with Motor City. 2 hyper-stylized shows side by side. But But the weird thing about these cartoons is Disney just didn't seem to care. They would barely advertise these shows and constantly move them around the schedule, confusing any viewers trying to watch it. Why would Disney pay to create a show and not let it gain traction? Well, I remind you, this was 2012. You know what major event Disney achieved in 2012? They bought Star Wars. The very movie that inspired them to create Tron. Who needs a franchise built to chase a trend when you now own the trendsetter? And of course, with Disney also owning Marvel, they're basically set. Who needs to focus on building up a smaller brand when you own Marvel and Star Wars? When Grandpa's buying toys for their child, what are they gonna buy? Sure, he doesn't know the characters' names, but he knows kids love it. They love that guy, the sword, the stupid robot, the racist blue elephant. It's Star Wars. Will he buy a lightsaber for his grandson? Or is Grandpa gonna buy whatever this is? What's that? What's that? I don't know what that is. I'm just a grandpa.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. Wow.
True, there are a few action cartoons on TV, but the ones on Disney XD are under those two brand names, while Nickelodeon has Ninja Turtles and CN gets Transformers and Justice League. You know, things that are already a name brand. There's no room for anyone else. But all those cartoons only get aired maybe once a week. The reason for that is something that affects every cartoon today, but I'll get into that soon.
My clan has won! And you can too if you go to the store and buy our toys! Buy our toys! Buy our toys!
Mama, I have to buy Clam League 9000 toys.
You're watching the first 5 episodes of Star Wars Clone Wars. Teen Titans are up next. Stay tuned for more Star Wars Clone Wars.
Mama, I have to buy Clam League 9000 toys.
Johnny, don't you think you have enough Clam League 9000 related merchandise?
No.
Speaking of brand recognition, in first grade, we had to write a paragraph on what we wanted to dress as for Halloween. I never watched Star Wars, but I saw Darth Vader here and there and thought he looked really cool, like a robot or something. At the time, I didn't know his name, so I just wrote down, I want to be the black guy from Star Wars. In all fairness, who doesn't want to be Lando? So here we are now, everyone's stockpiling action properties and no room for anyone else to jump in. All the big action shows in the past few years were anime that could be streamed, while none of our American ones took off. But animation is evolving. The 2010s brought along the boom of storyline-driven comedies with heavy anime inspiration. The kids who grew up on anime are making cartoons merged with what we love from both mediums.
Trip time! Come on, grab your friends.
But at the same time, less and less people are watching TV thanks to streaming, YouTube, video games, and other entertainment options that weren't standard before. The plot-driven comedies and action toy commercials like Ninja Turtles or Star Wars aren't being reran as much.
Look, Krunk, you've been sitting there watching that TV Puppet Pals marathon for the past 4 days. Aren't you even in the least bit tired?
Can you guess why Cartoon Network doesn't air too many Adventure Time or Steven Universe reruns? You can't just jump into it. Many of their episodes require you to be caught up. In order to catch up, the viewer would have to pray a rerun would air or pirate the missing episodes. A one-shot comedy like Teen Titans Go or Gumball doesn't have that problem. To compensate for TV's decline, networks are playing those comedies more often. That's another factor that killed action cartoons, and it's hurting plot-driven comedies too. It's such bad timing, plot-driven comedies started rising up as TV became too afraid to play them. But things are gonna get better. It's bad now, but we're currently in the awkward puberty state. It is inevitable. TV is dying out as more people are dropping cable services in favor of the rise of streaming. That's the future. That's where people are watching their anime and new American-made action shows like Castlevania or Voltron. Young Justice is coming back, not through TV, but streaming. There's still a demand for action. They just haven't found the right format to broadcast them until now. Thanks to streaming, no one has to worry about missing an episode. No one has to wait for a rerun to air. It's only gonna get better. Streaming is the future.
April 19th from 5 to 7, Cartoon Network's throwing a big party. Consider this your invitation. For the best action cartoons with a little extra deep sea flavor in between.
That was just plain freaky.
If you can cannonball, you'll be right at home.
Looks like this is gonna be good.
Duh.
Magoozy, premiering Monday, April 19th from 5 to 7, only on Cartoon Network. Come on in, the water's fine.
Dragon Ball Z.